Hi everyone, Lisa here from Down to Earth Gardening, and I have a video for you today on how to get the most out of your mums or chrysanthemums. So happy fall, it's very early fall, and I have to tell you that I have a few tips for you on how to get the most out of your mums, but number one is buy them early. So I know we all go to the store, late summer, early fall, and we're like, oh, fall stuff is out. It's so early. But you really do want to buy your mums early to get the most out of them. So go ahead and give in to the temptation and buy these beauties right now, as early as you can. So mums will flower, depending on the variety, anywhere from 4 to 8 weeks. So early September is a perfect time to buy them. I've been guilty of buying them even late August because when the frost hits, and in my planting zone, which is 6A, that will be towards the end of October. So that puts us right at the 8-week mark. So I'm hoping to have these flower for 8 weeks. So tip number one is buy them early. Tip number two is buy them with their buds really tight. So you'll see here we picked up all of our mums for our displays and our clients and ourselves, and they're all budded. You don't see a lot of flowers here, just a tiny bit of color, and that's really going to allow us to get the most out of them. So I know it's hard because it's tempting to buy the flowers when they're fully open and you can see the color, but just don't give in to the temptation and buy them with tight buds, and then just make sure that you have a tag on them so you'll know what color they're going to be. Okay, so for the next tips that I'm going to give you, I've got to put my gloves on. So I brought my mums home to my house, and I wanted to do that in order to show you exactly what I'm doing and walk you through the next tips to get the most out of your mums. So the next tip is, I know it's so tempting when you buy your mums just to bring them home and slide them into another pot or basket or something decorative. But the tip is that you really should be removing them from the pot they're sold in and putting them in your own container or directly in your garden. So that's really important because these mums were grown at the farm and they're all in these pots. They've been in these pots for a while and they're pretty root bound. So I'm going to show you what they look like. So if you're going to put them in a container, I do love my mixed containers, but I've got a single one here. What you want to do is you want to pick a container that is about 2 inches bigger than your mum. So this one barely passes here, but it's going to work. I have just about an inch on each side, so that'll give me a little room to put some fresh new soil in there. So I've already started making the mess here, and I'm going to show you exactly how to pot them up into a new container. So I've got my container here, and what I like to do is just put a little bit of drainage at the bottom by just using some rocks that I found in the gardens and around the yard. Set those there. And I've got my soil ready. I've got my gloves, my hori knife. So I do like to share with you some of my favorite gardening supplies. So I will put some things up in the links in the description if you're interested. Okay, we're going to put a little bit of fresh soil here in the bottom. Now, I brought these home last night and they're already dried out. It's the next morning. I gave them a good water when I brought them home last night. And you can see, because this is going to be the next tip, how dry it is. So we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But what I really want to show you here is how root bound they are from being in these pots for so long. So when I repot my plants, if they're really dry, I will just soak them in a little bit of water. So I've got my trug here with some water in it, so just give it a little soak. And then we need to just loosen up the roots a little bit. So you can either do that by hand, or I love this Hori Hori knife for this purpose. And I'm just making some shallow little slices here around the edge. You can just score the bottom a little bit. That will encourage it to loosen up and put on some growth here. Okay, so in the pot, nestled in. And then I'm just going to give it some fresh soil and make a mess. Something I'm really good at. Okay, so we want to make sure there's no air pockets down here. So I'm just kind of tamping it in just a little bit here. I do like doing my mixed containers for my fall displays, and I am going to put together a video on that for you. But I also like to have some mums, just some singles in some pots, just so I can move them around and kind of stage some outdoor spaces. You know, if we have some company over and we're sitting on the patio, if we have a dinner party, you know, I can just move them around and enjoy them. So it's a lot easier to move around a single pot than a larger one. Okay, I also like to show you the colors. And this tag split off, but this one is called Prism Purple. You know how I love purple if you've been watching my videos. And I also have a yellow one here that's looking pretty dried out, so we need to get to our next tip. So tag for the yellow one just so I can show you. So many gorgeous colors in the mums. It's so hard to choose. Okay, so we better get to the next tip because these mums are pretty dry. Next tip is keep your mums watered. So mums love their sun. They're going to flower the best in the sun, but that also means they're going to dry out pretty quickly. And you don't want to wait to water them until they start wilting and dry out. And I'm a little guilty of that with this one right here. But like I said, I've already watered this one yesterday. So that shows you that your mums will really need to be watered daily. So I would water them daily, even if they're in the ground or in containers. So either way, water them daily. I recommend at least an inch a week, but with that said, the daily watering is the tip here. The next tip is they like to be fertilized. So we want to give them a little fertilizer. I usually do this about once a week. And you have options here of doing granules right when you plant, some slow release granules, and I'm going to show you what I have on hand, or you can do water soluble. So I'm going to walk you through that. Okay. So when you're planting or potting, you can use your all-purpose plant granules, the slow release, and then you're just one and done. Or like I'm going to do today, I'm going to use the water soluble Miracle Grow is what I like. But I wanted to use the water soluble stuff because I want to show you the next tip. I know we have so many tips here, is how you water your mums. So that is also very important. Okay, so next tip is actually about how you're going to water your mums. So I have my watering can here, but I know some of you at home will be watering with your hose. And the most important part of this tip is that you want to water the soil, not the leaves and the buds. So you need to get to the base of your plant here, or it's really great if you have some trays with your pots. Now you can also buy some little plastic trays to sit them in, or you can be creative with some pretty dishes that you find at flea markets and whatnot. So there's lots of options there. But this is a great way to keep it from drying out, is to also fill the base here. So you want to water the soil, give it a good water. And then I just go ahead and I fill the bottom up a little bit. We all know how quickly these terracotta pots dry out. So this is really important, and it's great that this one has a tray under it. So if I'm using my watering can, which I have my water soluble plant food in, so same thing. I really just want to try to get to the soil. So I'm going to spin it around. This one here needs a big drink. He or she is a little sad today. And so the tray is also filling up, which is great. Okay, now I have one more tip for you, and this is really about aftercare. Okay, so my final tip has to do with aftercare. And in order to show you this one, I actually had to go out and buy a little mum that's already been in bloom, because if you'll remember back to the beginning of the video, the first tip was really about purchasing early and purchasing your mums with buds. So in order to show you this tip, I didn't have any flowers on my mums yet. So I bought this little one here. This is supposed to be orange. It's a little golden. And this tip is really about how it's important to deadhead your mums. And again, you want to do this no matter if they're in the container or in the ground. So once you see some faded blooms, so this one here is starting to brown, and you can wait till it's a little further along. I'm just demonstrating this just for purposes of showing you all at home. And then you want to take your pruners, or I have these little snips here that make this little handiwork a little bit easier. And you just want to go ahead and cut it down a little bit to a healthy set of leaves. So that's how much I took off. I do try to hide my snips a little bit in the plant so it's not so unsightly. So you're going to clean them up a little bit. And once they start flowering, you can do this every couple of days. Just take a few off. And what this is going to do is it's going to promote some new blooms. And so that's going to really help keep them going for as long as possible. So with all that said, y'all know I love to talk about gardening, and I do appreciate you hanging in there and watching my videos. But I want you to enjoy fall, and for me, fall means mums, pumpkins, apple cider, whatnot. So get out there and enjoy fall, and buy your mums early so you can enjoy them for the longest. I hope these tips helped you today, and if they did, please go ahead and tap like and subscribe to our channel, because I have so many more gardening topics to talk about.